Hi there, I'm Angela St. Julien, founder and publisher of Brand Bar's Happy Hour Chats. So, I have a surprise for you. In honor of Mother's Day on Sunday, this week I will have a spotlight interview of a domain industry mother each day this week up until Mother's Day. So, this is a great opportunity to get to know some of the women in our space and some of the time that they dedicate to their families as well as their craft or their career in the domain space. Stick around, learn more about us, but first, let's hear from our sponsors.
Serious about online trading? Secure your funds, keep your merchandise safe, and use a company that keeps both the buyer and seller protected the whole way through. That's escrow.com. Payments you can trust.
If you're interested in speaking, exhibit, or sponsorship opportunities at the 2017 NamesCon show, you can track the team down at WorldHostingDays USA this month. They'll be there starting Tuesday, May 24th. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Angela St. Julien, founder and publisher over here at Brand.bar. This afternoon, I'm sitting, virtually sitting next to Mr. Brian Gilbert, the Director of Business Management at Thomason Management. Hey there, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. So I know you guys who are watching are thinking we're about to do an interview where I ask Brian a bunch of questions, but that's really not what's about to happen here.
My turn to ask you the questions.
Brian is going to be the one asking me the questions, and I'm going to pitch it over to him right now.
All right, so this week, Angela is taking a few minutes to recognize moms in the domain industry, so she's going to be the first one we interview. And her first question is, Angela, what is your role in the domain industry?
Well, I think on an official level, my role would be that of the founder of Brand Bar, which is a brandables marketplace. But unofficially, I see myself as a servant of the domain industry.
All right, great. Now, okay, so this is kind of a three-part question.
Okay.
How did you find the domain industry? Were you looking for a way to earn income at home? And what did you do before the domain industry?
Okay, so this is a story that I've told people several times before, but for those of you who don't know me, I'll just put it out there. I was standing in line at a FedEx shipping store about to ship something off to my sister-in-law, and this is after, having had months of conversation with my husband about finding a way to work online, because my husband is prior service Army and he still works as a civil servant for the government, and we have moved quite a bit. So packing up my brick and mortar business and moving it over and over again just became unreasonable. There were a lot of losses, sustained with each move. So it just made more sense for me to find something online. And across from where I stood at the shipping store, I saw a book. It was a white book with green on it, and it basically was splashing at me. I mean, not literally, but it just seemed like it was splashing. So I got out of line because that's just who I am. My curiosity got the best of me. And I went over and I picked it up, and it was called Get Rich Click by Mark Ostrowski. So okay. I thought, what? I was just reading about this. This is awesome. And I bought it. I took it home. I read the first half of the book until you got to the part where it talked about selling domains. And I said, what? You could sell domains? I have some, seeing as I had, run a business, before. I had several domains of my own. So I immediately closed the book and went to GoDaddy and threw $2,000 down the drain. Hand registering domains. So it wasn't so bad because I see it as tuition. I've learned a lot more about the space now, but I would say the caution would be to really learn the space before you really dive in, especially before you spend that kind of money. And what I did before domaining was I ran a concierge service actually for hotels and small businesses and families. So I really am more geared toward a life of service is what I like to do because I love people. So that's what I did. But now I feel like I can serve the community here, the domain industry online and person doing like little meetups or coming to conferences, that kind of thing.
That's great. So how long have you been in the domain industry?
I think at this point I am at the 2.5 year mark. So
Two
I'm
and a half year
still
mark.
in toddler stage, I'd say.
So when did you buy your first domain though?
I bought my first domain in 2007.
2007. So here we are 9 years later, and
Yes.
and it's kind of evolved a little
And then I
bit. So,
almost lost well, I did lose that first domain. Because
uh-oh.
what happened, well, I looked at it and I thought, oh, there's no need in renewing this because I'm not going to ever go back into that business again. So I'm going to let it go. And then it was after I let it go, I thought, that was stupid. That was my first domain ever. And it's because I think I read some blogs. And one of the bloggers were talking, a domain industry blogger was talking about their first ever domain or something. And I said, that was
Oh
my
yeah.
first one. I should have kept it forever. So luckily, no one had picked it up after it dropped, and I was able to re-register it, and I still have it now.
Nice. Nice. A
Yeah,
little
yeah.
bit of nostalgia in your
Oh
portfolio.
yeah, oh yeah.
All right. So then, how has working from home impacted your relationship with your kids? How many hours did you spend in the concierge business versus how many hours do you spend now with brand.bar and selling your domain names? And has that freed up some of your time because obviously there's no travel to and from work and whatever else? So,
Well, with the concierge business, it was a little unique in the respect of my children were, well, at the time I had my son, he was still a little toddler. And he was with me for a while in my offices. I had an office in one of the hotels, and he was there with me every day until he went on to be in the nursery at the Air Force Base in Colorado. And then after that, it was just me go, 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 go. I really saw him after he got out of, nursery, and that was it, throughout the night, and that was it. And then after we left Colorado and I was home and we decided we weren't going to put the children in nursery and I had my daughter at that point too. I was full-time mommy. Like, so I saw them all day, every second. And when I decided to do domaining, that was cool, but they're like crawling around and I started doing these chats and they're like throwing things past my head. It was it was crazy. But it was fun because, not everyone gets that opportunity to have the freedom to work at home and still be mom, still stop and make that lunch, still, put your babies down for nap time, or still say, I'm going to take a break right now, I'll take you to the park. You kind of have a little more freedom. Um,
mhm.
I will say domaining has been very good to me. Now both of my children are in private school, which was my goal to begin with when I started this. And it's because of what I do in this space now. That basically pays for me to be able to put them in school. And now I can do this. I can focus on this full time. And they're not home with me, but it's still good because if they need me, I can stop. I can get to the school. I can still participate in school activities. I still go to see my kids on Thursday. They are doing developmental basketball right now. So my little 3 year old and my little 5 year old. I still get to see their practices. So it's a blessing. It really is.
Yeah, I don't have kids of my own, but we have two cats and a dog, and being at home, there are easy distractions to get you away from your
Yeah.
computer, and I can imagine having kids would be, hey, let's go outside and play instead of
Yeah.
let's sit at the computer and work, So when before they were in school, how did you manage your time, and and how did you grow from that, and what could you recommend to other moms who may have their kids at home today without them being in school? How do they
Well,
manage their time?
before they were in school, it was basically we would get up. I would start with trying to, teach my son as much as I could. I'm not a natural teacher, but everything that I could as a mom, knowing what he would need to know. And then from there, I would take my laptop all over the house. Like if we're playing in their room, where I'm halfway playing and tapping away on my computer screen at the same time. I wouldn't say that's the healthiest thing. Your children do need your attention when you're doing something with them. You probably have to unplug and, put that away and give them that time. But it was difficult to anyone who believes that a mom staying at home is not actually working a job. They're just totally misinformed. Misinformed. Actually, even without doing domaining, working as a mother in the home is full time. It's nonstop.
Right,
So
yeah.
juggling. I mean, that's basically when we talk about time management, it was juggling, getting up in between, loading the laundry or feeding them lunch or reading them a book or playing a game. I'm on the computer. I'm looking through drop list. I'm, doing everything I can to list my domain in marketplaces to sell, that kind of stuff. It's much easier now because they're at school. I have the whole day to do this.
Right.
So I get dressed, I take them to school, I come back, and I basically walk into my office and I get started.
Were there any particular activities or hobbies or things that you weren't aware of before you had kids that now you're aware of, and maybe some of the domains in your portfolio reflect those activities or some ideas that you might have gotten from your children?
Uh, huh. Well, I think that would be a lot of like education or school-based domains. Like when the .club registry released their .club domains, the first things I picked up was like kids movie club, kids reading, like e-reader. Like all I could think about was children and what they need and what they use. And then also, let's be honest, parents spend incredible amounts of money all day long for their children to educate them, to entertain them. So yeah, a lot of domains in my portfolio will probably reflect that. And then also my children's names. I learned how important it was to have your own name in a domain. I'm sure some of our current political candidates are wishing they had done some of that themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
But I had thought even before that, I need to have my baby's names. So I have all of my family, my immediate family anyway, their names, and I don't know if I would have thought of that either, too, if I hadn't read it on a blog. Another industry blogger had written about that. And then my son kept coming home asking me, did you buy me a domain today?
Wow.
Yeah, he asks. He says, "Did you buy me a domain today?" Or he'll ask me, "Did I sell one?" But after he said that, I realized, there's certain domains he would need. So his name, we
Yeah.
have that, and then even the little projects he does now, he builds a lot with Legos and little magnetiles. He makes these creations is unbelievable. And he likes us to video it while he's building them or take pictures. And I figured, well, he might want to have his own little site one day where he puts his creation. Yeah, he's 5, but who
Yeah.
knows? If he keeps this up, maybe at 7, he'll be able to get on the computer and blog it himself. The children
That's
are
right.
quite advanced these days.
That's right. For somebody who doesn't have kids, it amazes me how you can hand a child of very young, 3, 4, 5 years old, an iPad or an iPhone, and they just go right to work in it. I mean, they know
Oh, yeah.
exactly how to use it with very little teaching. It's
Exactly.
crazy how
They
that
can
works.
show you things that your phone or your tablet can do that you have no idea. And you're like,
Yeah,
what?
yeah.
How did you make that do that just now? Show me.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So as a mom with 2.5 years experience in the domain industry,
Mhm.
if you wanted to get a message out to a new mom who was considering coming into the industry, what advice would you give to her? Or maybe even a dad who might be single or married that is a stay-at-home dad or wants to be a stay-at-home dad. It could go for both either parent. But what advice would you give to them so they could avoid spending money that they shouldn't spend,
Oh,
or
yeah.
spend it more wisely, or their time more effectively, or something like that?
Well, I guess there's certain steps. First thing, once you're introduced to the space or if you stumble on it, I would say don't spend any money yet. I'm even telling people that when I go on Name Pros, I spend a lot of time over there in their chat section. Don't spend any money yet. Just read everything you can. Take in as much knowledge as possible. Watch as many videos or listen to as many podcasts. Anything you can to get that knowledge. Pick up some manuals, whatever. Do the learning portion first. I mean, there's always this big attraction to to making money, but you're going to lose some first if you don't do that step. And then after you've done that, I would also map out a little bit of a strategy. Decide what kind of investor you are. Are you one who's building a portfolio for long-term investing, or are you the person who's really good at selling things to people and you're really good at, maybe flipping domains, or maybe you're thinking you want to become a broker? Like, just read into each aspect of that and decide which one best fits you and make a plan. And then the last part would be to be patient, because while we will read a lot of announcements about big domain sales, and we'll see the sales list come out on DN Journal every week, and that can be exciting, especially wanting your name to be on that list. Just because it doesn't happen this week doesn't mean that it can't happen next week or next month. Just be patient. If you've learned everything you could, it's going to happen for you. Just be patient and spend as little as you can, though, while you're waiting for it to happen to you.
So you mentioned Name Pros and DN Journal.
Mhm.
Any other places you would recommend for newcomers to the industry, whether they're a parent or not, really, to read and learn and gather that knowledge?
I'm going to just tell you what I do, Brian. I've got two things. I don't think a lot of people probably are not big on news like that. I wake up in the morning after I've got my kids off to school. I come back, I get myself a glass of orange juice. I turn on the news on my TV, so I get the world news, and then I open my browsers and I open up DN Journal. I open up the domains. I open up the domain name wire, domain investing, domain gang, every single blog that we have in our space. I open them all on each browser and I see what they've written about. I think every other Monday or Tuesday or maybe Wednesday, I'm not sure the date, but I actually get an email to let me know whenever there's a new like domain Sherpa show or something like that out. I'm also registered for Domain Name Wire, so I get an email when they blog. So if you don't want to just open them all, you can go to your email and you can open them up. I read it all. I see what's going on in the space, who sold what, who thinks something is sold, who thinks, something got bought by Google or whatever. And then I open Name Pros, because to me, yes, we're hearing what the bloggers are telling us, and I think that's great because they have access to a higher level of information. But let's not
Okay.
forget, in my opinion, the 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 people who actually make the industry run, and I think those are those domainers who are hanging out on Name Pros, who are
Okay.
selling their domains or listing their domains, talking about what they've heard. So I read there too. I read the chats to see what people are talking about. It's like, it takes a lot of time to do that, but it's a good idea because you know what you're doing each day based on what you've read or what you see coming. And don't believe it all, though. Some things
Right.
we
Right.
all know is a hype situation, but you have
Yes.
to use your smarts.
Well, I think that's a lot of great information. I think
Yeah,
a good idea for this post video would be to place links to all the sites that you mentioned that you read,
absolutely.
uh, in the video feed on your site, so other people can reference those and kind of, start off following your routine, or at least link to those sites that you do kind of read and subscribe to.
Yes, yes, I'll do that. And actually, anyone who's watching or listening, if I've missed some that you use that you think are really value added tools, send them over and we'll add that too to the list. How about that,
Yeah,
Brian?
yeah, because there's new domainers every single day,
That's
and then
right.
plenty of domain in the industry who got their start either reading other forums or Name Pros or whatever. And so, but there are definitely some solid references within the industry that are free for anybody to read. You don't have to invest anything to learn these
That's right.
steps.
You know, there's one other thing too I didn't say, Brian. I talk too much. I
Okay.
know this. But I'll also, another tip, do not be afraid to jump into an industry event or conference. One thing I heard a lot of when I was new and I said I'm going to go to NamesCon, the first year I went, everyone's like, I haven't ever been to an industry conference, or why would you do that? You're new. Those are for people who've been here forever. But that is not true. Those are great ways to meet people, and you're not just meeting people like yourself who are also new in the space, but people who've been here for since the beginning, basically. And believe it or not, they are open to helping you. They are open to sharing what they know about the space. So don't be afraid to go to some conferences, to go to some meetups, why not? What can you lose by interacting with other domain investors?
Right. Well, and speaking of meetups, you recently held D in Houston, which was a local group of
Yeah.
domainers who got together, and even some flew in from out of town to meet up and talk about domain names. So there's nothing that's stopping anybody in any other city to try to get together with other domainers because, quite frankly, they're all over the world.
Exactly. That's right. And there's a lot of events going on all the time. Like this year, the calendar is chock full of different things coming up. You guys, I'll list some of those too for anyone watching. Some things that's coming up that you might want to check out. Thank you, Brian.
And so if somebody wants to put together another D in Houston outside of that town, if they want to do a D in, insert their city name here, maybe you can help them kind of coordinate something like that as well.
Yeah, I don't mind. This is when I say that my unofficial job is to be a servant to the space. I really mean that. I am here because it brings something to me to be able to help. It brings something to me, or it makes me feel great to be able to bring people together to meet. And who knows? I mean, maybe someone will one day build up their own incredible business, and it'll all be because I said, hey, you should come and join us at NamesCon this year. I don't know. I mean, it's not about credit for me, but that's what I would love. Yeah.
Simple conversations make huge impacts sometimes.
That's right.
Really, really do.
That's right. So I'm here for anyone, and you guys get to know Brian more too, because he is a fount of knowledge. He's got it all in there, and he can tell you so many things about the space.
All these books. I've not read any of those.
He's read every one. He's read every one of those, guys.
Well, great. Now that we know more about you, Angela, we look forward to meeting other moms in the industry and learning more about them as well.
It'll be great. So yeah, you guys, look out. Tomorrow we'll have someone new on, and you'll get a chance to meet her and get to know more about her and her business as well. Brian, I hope you come back to chat with us again.
Yes.
And to interview, I don't know, maybe me or someone else. Who knows?
Sure.
You're really good at it.
Thanks.
Okay, well, you have a good day. Before we continue, let's take a moment to find out what's on the top shelf over at brand.bar. We have resumecube.com. This would be a great brand for any leading resume, job, or recruitment business or website. DiveLounge.com. Build your new beach or poolside lounge or bar with this highly brandable and easily remembered domain. JuiceKick.com. Give your new health business, product, or service a kick with this catchy and versatile name. GeniusCompany.com. We'll just keep this short and sweet. Only a genius would start their company with such a great brand. WannaExtract.com. This would be a perfect brandable name for the marijuana, cannabis, oils, and cosmetics industry. If you'd like more information about the domain shown here, visit us at www.brand.bar. If you'd like to promote your brandable domain name here, send us an email to promote@brand.bar.